So this is for Lisa. So what's the difference between nursing and bottle feeding in terms of depth within the mouth?
That's a great question, and it's the simple fact that I took 45 minutes of a presentation and forgot to actually come out and say that. And so in order to nurse on a breast, the mouth has to open very wide, and hopefully, if everything is functioning well, the breast fills the mouth. The nipple goes to the junction of the hard and soft palate, and the baby compresses the entire breast. With a bottle, with a pacifier, it's this, right? So it's the difference of this or this. So there's no action going on. There's nothing hitting the palate. There's not, if a baby opens wide, you can stick a bottle in, but usually they'll gag. So it's a whole different motion. And the peristaltic motion that we do with breastfeeding, when everything's working right, forms everything. Whereas with the bottle, it's a chomping. It's just a chomping. And sometimes babies are chomping on the breast when there's malfunction there. So it's a whole different thing. And again, as I said in the presentation, we have to use bottles sometimes. Most of us are not in a privileged situation where we're going to be able to just nurse our babies. But we need to be aware that this exists and try not to bottle feed when we don't have to, if we don't have to, and limit it. And then there's different types of bottles, and SLPs who specialize in this know which bottles work best for which babies. That's a little beyond my scope, but there are certain bottles that work better. There's no bottle that imitates the breast, no matter how they advertise it. And there's a lot of false advertising about bottles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just curious, before the industrial or cultural revolution, go back 500, 1,000 years, how long would women typically breastfeed?
3, 4, 5 years. Okay. And in some cultures still. Complementary foods are added as regular food. There is no such thing. And we didn't bring this up today at all. Baby food is a new invention, right? Purees weren't given. Even I remember my grandmother, and it sounds gross, she used to chew her food a little and then give it to the baby. And that's how food was shared, whatever the family was eating. So baby food is a new invention also after the Industrial Revolution. And sadly, if there wasn't, if the mother couldn't nurse a baby, there was either a wet nurse, and if there wasn't a wet nurse, they tried to make, usually a goat's milk formula was the first choice before. And right now, there are milk banks where you can get pasteurized donor milk, and it's starting now in NICUs. If a baby, because in a NICU, breast milk can make the difference between life and death for a very premature baby. The other thing that goes on is a lot of informal milk sharing. There's groups on Facebook where you can share your milk. I know sisters who've nursed their sisters' babies now. It's not just in the past. People who understand the value of breast milk and breastfeeding. The number one choice is feeding at the breast. Next is giving breast milk by bottle.
Hi. Is there any risk associated with using breast milk from another mother or somebody who's not biologically related to the child?
So if you're going through the milk bank, it's pasteurized, right? So that's the same as going to ShopRite and buying cow's milk. It's pasteurized. We don't think about, wonder where that milk came from. Wonder who, we know that cow. We don't even know that cow. We're gonna drink its milk. So, but we're so, I remember when I was nursing, I had some milk in the fridge, some breast milk pumped, and my sister-in-law was over, and she was looking for milk for her coffee, and I was like, that's my breast milk. And she's like, oh! I was like, you're drinking milk from a cow. You trust the cow more than me. But that's another story. We have this cultural phobia of human milk that it really shouldn't be there. That being said, it is a blood and body fluid. So if you have any diseases that can be transmitted, some diseases can be transmitted through breast milk, including HIV. So you want to know the person. Some mothers have each other tested. They give, the milk banks test the mother before accepting any milk. But there's even people informally that get blood work and make sure everything's okay. And then going with food intolerances, so there's some mothers who have dairy-free milk and they'll donate that. So yeah, it's interesting.
I want to bring it up because it's a reality of today about COVID. I recently had a baby, and the baby was 6 weeks, and the mom wants to get the vaccine. Everything has been making progress with breastfeeding, and since she wants to get the vaccine in the next month or so, she wants to stop breastfeeding. So how would you guide the parent in that?
There is no reason to stop breastfeeding to get the vaccine.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the vaccine passes immunity onto the baby.
Okay,
Getting COVID passes immunity,
okay,
and getting the vaccine does too. There's
Okay.
less research on getting the vaccine, but there's been, as a matter of fact, recently on the breastfeeding group on Staten Island, somebody asked, and she asked for people's opinions, and this is not research, but it's what's happening. At least 25 people answered in like 10 minutes saying, I got the vaccine, nothing happened to the
Okay.
baby, everything's fine.
yeah. I just didn't want to be the, I didn't know what to exactly tell
So-
her.
so
'Cause
what-
I said to check
Yeah.
with your gynecologist, and the
Yeah.
gynecologist did say to pump twice and then dump the milk right after you get the vaccine.
That doesn't even make
So
any sense.
I just wanted to confirm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know where
But-
people get their information, but there's actually research being done at NYU.
Yeah. Okay.
And New York City Lactation Consultants Association has a presentation, I believe, on YouTube about the COVID situation and breast milk.
Okay.
With the researcher who's doing the research. It's really
Okay.
pretty fascinating.
Okay, great. Because I was worried. Everything's been going so well with her breastfeeding, and then
Yeah.
she mentioned that, and I
You
so
should
I hope she
say,
doesn't-
ask a lactation consultant.
I know.
Great.
Thank you.